So this is also kind of a concern and a problem that I have, that oftentimes people who subscribe to these perspectives don't want dialogue, they don't want discussion. The moment that they're challenged, they respond just by calling you a name. You know, you're transphobic, you're homophobic, you're racist, you're sexist, misogynistic, whatever term they want to throw out at you in that particular moment.
I don't think it's right, because I feel if I'm having my objective opinion about, let's say, racism as a black man, I feel I have a right to choose what side of the coin I'm supporting or rooting for, because in our fight against racism, essentially some blacks have also become racist. It's not like a black person cannot be racist to a white.
But sometimes the people on the woke camp will say that a black person can't be racist.
Exactly.
That only a white person can be racist, and that's just not true.
It's not true. So we're having a hateful culture where it's easy to call a man a misogynist, but usually the woman calling a man a misogynist is usually you find them also misandrists. Because there's a lot of hate for men, let's say on social media, all over the place. And, we don't throw around these words calling them misandrists or whatever, but essentially, some of these people qualify to be misandrists. So we don't solve one problem by bringing another. We don't deal with misogynists by creating misandrists. It's not helping. So in the end, we're going to have a demonized culture where we're being hateful to each other. I think it's counterproductive. So we probably want to find ways of dealing with the earlier evils that are more ingenious and are more helpful to the progression of humanity. Otherwise, we're just making things worse by trying to help in an unproductive way.
So as I said earlier, this is our first episode. We wanted to use this first episode here to kind of introduce ourselves. But maybe before we go, we can talk about some of the topics, maybe list some of the topics that we intend on discussing.
Yeah, so
maybe if you're out there and you want to suggest some topics to add to this, feel free to put something in the comments about what you want us to discuss.
Yeah, so topics around gender. Gender is very broad. We might have the masculine image or the feminine image, or sexuality and basically sex. There's the political field is very contentious. I'm not American, but I know there are two sides in America, Republicans and Democrats.
You can even go deeper than that and say that there's the establishment politicians and the kind of revolt against the establishment. You've got Donald Trump, and they kind of go against the establishments. So it depends how you look at it. You've got the right and the left, but you've also got the establishment versus the revolt against the establishment. But
basically things, we have a plethora of topics like, there's abortion, it's a bit contentious, marriage and divorce. Things are really changing.
Traditional values kind of versus...
basically, traditional and the conventional values all day. And then there's another thing I feel I want to talk about again, freedoms. I feel the freedoms are becoming a problem, and I think that's a big deal, especially if you're talking about wokeness. We are creating so many freedoms, which freedoms are trampling on other people's free will. Or we have people living plastic lives because, Paul, I have a freedom to call myself whatever I want to call myself. And, if you don't call me that, you offend me or, against me. So
right. If I identify as something, but that something is not consistent with objective reality, do I have the right to compel you to call me what I identify as, even if it contradicts reality?
Yeah, there's a video I was watching, it's more of a meme, and this guy says, so from now on, I'm transparent. You should call me transparent. If you don't call me transparent, you're offending me. And come on, I can see you. So, but that was a joke. But that's
it's a joke, but
things are turning out anyway. So
So, all right. So that's what we're going to be doing. I don't know if you have anything to add before we end this video. We just basically welcoming people who feel like they're like-minded, because I feel we're being suffocated. We can't speak about things that we want to speak about, and we feel we're caged in a way behind shackles. So it's a bit like we want to create a platform where people can actually feel liberated to speak. Hopefully we don't get banned because Hopefully.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in about a week, hopefully. That's our
Big hopefully.
big hopefully. We'll be back in
Yeah.
a week. If there's anything that you would like us to talk about that we haven't identified as part of the potential topics, please put them in the comments and we'll add them to our list.
Sure.
So yeah. So all right, then we'll see you
Ciao.
next week. Ciao. Thank you. Bye for now, as I'd always like to say.